Well, new channel, new video. Well, kinda. See, I was going through my old experimental stuff on my Zero Option Sci-Fi Narrations channel, the older ATV content, and I decided instead of uploading that old original Cringe Fest, I was going to give you a whole brand new Cringe Fest with Blackjack. Well, at least the Cringe Fest anyway, but you know what I mean. So this time, guys, we are going to take apart a very special tank that I happen to love. So set your fire control to team kill and buckle up. It's time to take apart the Scorpion MV808 main battle tank.
Firing main cannon.
Uh-oh.
What?
Alright, so welcome back to my new and improved Scorpion video. I'm going to take this tank apart from a tanker's perspective and show you why this thing actually wouldn't cut the mustard in any sort of capacity whatsoever. So I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up. Okay, so before I go ripping half of the internet's favorite tank a new one, keep this in mind. Please don't go disliking the video right yet. Or you know what, do it anyway. Anywho, so yes, this tank is cool. Yes, it's fun to drive. Yes, it's OP as shit in the game. And if you ever meet me in multiplayer, I'm a tank whore and a rocket whore. Watch out, fight me. So, but this thing was designed by a bunch of dweebs who wouldn't know armored combat or in tank if it was airdropped straight on top of them. And let's face it, Halo lore in the novels and the video games and even in the videos are just so wildly inconsistent that you'd swear that Black Library wrote it. But I'm going to break it down for you Barney style for all you keyboard warriors chomping at the bits to call me every game a word in the book. So I see you there. Let's get on with it. From the ground up, the track system. Now, I don't know why sci-fi universes keep pulling this trope out of placing 4 track pylons on an armored vehicle. Yeah, it looks cool, but by replacing 2 with 4, you do several things. It increases your weight, it doubles the maintenance required, and it makes recovery nigh impossible. If you need proof, take a rolly chair with 4 wheels on it, knock one out, and try to pull it around evenly. It makes recovery a pain in the ass, and it sucks arse. All right. Now, each track is going to require its own drive motor, doubles your mounts, again, and it also doubles your attendant hydraulics and electronics to power said drive motors. And not to mention, it also doubles and increases your supply line for when you inevitably throw a track not once, but 4 times, and possibly burn out a tranny. Just saying. Now, they've also made provisions for these tracks to mount infantry on them. Yes, there's historical precedence for this. However, I want you to put a pin in that. We're going to come back to it later, and you're going to see why. Another reason these are pointless is because it increases your chance by getting high-centered on anti-tank obstacles and rough terrain. Now keep in mind, like I said, with the chair with the 4 wheels, now try to articulate that and then get it over obstacles. If one's articulating up and down, you've got a pretty long center point there in your fulcrum, and it's going to balance out pretty roughly. Now, finally, during airlift, these track pylons are slacked down. Now, if you notice when they airlift these things, that they in fact pick them up from the mantlet and the top of the turret. So you've got all this extra torque bouncing up and down as a VTOL craft is trying to sling this thing around. Now, I'm not an Oxford scholar, but I'm not a fucking idiot either. Trying to fly a VTOL aircraft with a heavy load, tail heavy, that's constantly bouncing and swinging is going to make piloting just plain rude. Not to mention the terrible distribution and balance of the warhull. Most tanks today tend to focus all of the weight towards the center of the warhull, distributing the weight evenly over the tracks. This focuses most of its weight on the final third of the vehicle, kind of making it rear heavy, and again, adding all that extra torque and stress when it's being airlifted. But we'll look at that sooner, or rather later in the video. Part 2, Warhull. This is where I officially become unhinged as a content creator and go full tanker on Bungie, Halo, 343 Studios. You're all fucking guilty of this. The bow gunner. All right, this is a position that every military decided 70 years ago, I guess, that this was completely superfluous. We don't need it anymore. And yet, not only does the UNSC decide that this is a good thing to bring back 600 years in the future, but they're not even going to install the bow gunner inside the warhull. We're going to cut a big hole at the top of our tank, and then we're going to just shove a guy in there. We're going to put a big old grenade trap, because it's not like our enemy has got thrown grenades, satchel charges, plasma bombs, and plasma mortars that arc, and a nice, neat ballistic trajectory. And on top of that, not only did they put a grenade trap in the front of this thing, they installed a pintle-mounted machine gun with a shield right in front of the driver's viewports. How the fuck is the driver supposed to see where it's going? I know the thing has got 6 pedals and you can't figure out which direction it's going anyway, but like that seems like a pretty terrible ergonomic solution to the issue of infantry crawling all over your vehicle. Just saying. Firepower. We've come to this. It's time to talk about the anemic 90mm gun. Yep, I'm going to go there. I don't know why you'd put the armament of a light tank on a main battle tank. It defies logic and reason, but here we are discussing it. You could make the argument that up until the Human Covenant War, humans had only fought other humans, so the 90mm may be insufficient. But that doesn't excuse the design entirely, because let's face it, if 50 years of counterinsurgency operations have taught us anything, it's that tanks are not the best role for this job. The jobs are better suited to IFVs, which the UNSC seems to lack entirely. A 90mm gun is just as effective in urban terrain or even rural terrain as a 30 or 50mm autocannon or even a chain gun. The penetration, you're probably going to go through brick walls at most, not heavy armor, so the gun isn't going to be necessary. Another quick aside here, guys. I know Installation 00 did a complete breakdown of the Scorpion main battle tank on his own channel there, and he claims that the 90mm gun is better than the 120mm armor-piercing fin-stabilized discarding Sabo rounds that are currently in use today. And I'm going to flat out argue with him why that's wrong. The casing that is ejected from the rear of the turret on the autoloader of the Scorpion main battle tank appears to be no larger than a 90mm contemporary artillery casing. That would place this thing firmly in the range of maybe a 105mm round for penetration power tops. And the reason I'm going to say that is because a tungsten round, a complete total thick, like solid tungsten round, is going to be too heavy for that propellant to fire that thing. Most artillery rounds are hollow, even though they are made of steel. They're hollow and filled with explosives. That's why they can go so far. In all likelihood, the 90mm is an armor-piercing fin-stabilized discarding Sabo round or a sub-cal composite-tipped penetrator round. There's no way that thing is a solid tungsten round, and there's no way that 90mm round is better than any 120mm today. That's just the way it is. Well, not really the way it is, but that's my opinion on the matter. Okay, now I've done enough rambling about the anemic ammunition and gun that this tank has. Now it's time to move on to the turret. My main point of contention with the turret is it raises the silhouette needlessly. They use the mantlet as a lifting point transporting this thing and the muzzle brake. So let's look at each of these individually and see how they add this thing up to a giant pile of what the fuck is happening. For all you shooters here, you know how important your zero is. You don't go start yanking on parts of your gun, your scope, etc. before you go shoot. So I don't know why the UNSC feels it's appropriate to start yanking on its gun before transporting it everywhere. This places a whole lot of stress on the entire neck joint of the turret system, not to mention the added stress and amplification of the track pylons flopping around, like I had mentioned earlier. This all adds up to completely destroying the gun system before it can even reach the battlefield. And I guess they really didn't need the gun to work anyway, because this segues neatly into my next point, the muzzle brake on the gun, and all the lovely exposed crew members sitting all over that hull. And suddenly it doesn't seem like such a good idea anymore, does it? See the video behind me? That's the shockwave coming off a main gun. That concussive force is literally enough to kill anyone close enough to it. So why we have infantry all around it is beyond me. And this is why we tell infantry not to go ahead of the third road wheel on a tank. Now the Scorpion not only has one crewman outside the hull, but crewmen all around the hull and one right under the gun, right under that muzzle brake. So anytime that gun fires, they're going to need to replace that crewman. He's going to be dead. So I guess you really do need to be a team-killing fucktard to want to drive this thing.
You shot Church, you team-killing fucktard?
So, in conclusion, yes, the tank looks cool, and its OP is fucking the game. And again, fight me on it. There's no way in hell this would make it past the design phase of procurement, let alone make it into production or past the prototyping stage. This tank literally ignores centuries of armored doctrine up to that point and learning and produced a war machine that is more dangerous to its own users and forces than to the enemy. So, sorry Spartans, the UNSC Scorpion didn't pass the smell test on this one. And anyway guys, if you like this video, please give me the old thumbs up, hit that like button, maybe share the maybe share that video around and piss off some gamers for me. Tell me in the comments how I can improve for you guys and what you'd like to see me tackle with the next one. With that, I'll see you on the next one, guys. Peace. Have another puff, Tony. Don't mind if I do. Got the pasties. Coffee makes me happy.